Aliens Genocide Issue 3. This book is absolutely amazing because now we have entered the alien hive world. And oh my goodness, guys, it is nightmare fuel incarnate. But before we talk about that, the print date on this book was January 1992. Story is Mike Richardson. Script is John Arcudi. Penciler is Damon Willis. Inker is Carl Story. Letterer is Jim Massara. And editor was Barbara Kessel. Now as they're landing, we see the anteater here. And just look at the way that the inks and the lack of, as I say, color, or should I say the choice of color palette here, just the yellows, the greens, and the reds, with these flashes of use of yellow and white to light up Hive World. Oh God, they're everywhere, like bugs. And we even listen to the captain here. No one told me it was going to be like this. Where the hell are we supposed to land? Man, no one told me it was going to be like this. No one told me. Get ready to activate retros. Okay, listen up, boys and girls. Prepare for an emergency combat landing. I ain't kidding, folks. It's nasty out there. Boom. Page frickin' 1. Just in absolute gorgeous artwork to accentuate what we're trying to visually portray here. Now, they launched what's called the PEHs, I believe is what it's called. I don't even remember. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, it talks about, it's a force field. So they launch it, and they get a snug little force field so that the reds that are captured within, or the reds and the blacks, should I say, they could wipe out while the rest of the aliens can war within. Lee, being the badass sergeant she is, this is what we came here to do, people. It's why we're drawing a salary. As they drop the ramp, so let's make some money. And it reminds me of that guy on TikTok. I can't remember his handle, but he does the movie pitches, and he acts like he does that snort at the beginning. All right, we're going to play movie adverbs or Mad Libs, and at the end he goes, and we'll make a bunch of freaking money. And that's just what that reminds me of. But I love how the Marines just come out blasting all the aliens that are stuck within the realm of this, what do you call it, force field. And again, the palette choices here. Grant is sitting within the anteater monitoring, and he goes, wow, that armors of yours is working great. Used to be you couldn't fight these things in such close quarters. Man, look at Hendrickson go. And just the blacks, reds, and yellows as we see Corporal Hendrickson just blasting into the aliens. And when they're trying to get on the hull, it's just this lack of color that really sells it for me, because it just gives you this dreaded feeling and the action along with it. What I love is how the first wave gets cleared, because they have to extend the wall to the alien hive so they can get in without, what do you call it, incident. And the other thing is they thought that the aliens were going to be docile. No one really knows about the Reds. So this massive civil war that's going on is essentially a surprise to all parties involved. And I love how, where is it here? She's standing next to Corporal, I can't think, it's Lieutenant Willis or something like that. But anyway, he goes, that wasn't so bad. Not bad at all. Hell, this operation is going to be a cinch. And then Ellis says, yeah. And I love how we get this medium shot to this wide right. Because we just see these waves and waves with this up close of this black tearing into the red. Great use of dialogue with visual storytelling. And then we're introduced to the turrets, and Grant's kind of the one that has to do the exposition here. He goes, so these will shoot the high explosive rounds into the creatures and clear some ground? Right. Then one of these fire the perimeter extension harpoon into the cleared area. There it is. Should come off without a hitch. So notice that. Without a hitch. Without a hitch. Without a hitch. Without a hitch. That's pretty much what I promised your commanders before we started this trip. Now look where we are. And so we can kind of see the smugness of Daniel Grant at the moment. And everyone is so enthralled with what they've done so far, they decide to have a picnic. Jastro's sitting here friggin' playing horseshoes, and Ellis is like, how the hell can you play horseshoes with that just a few feet away? Oh, come on, you know as well as I do they can't get through the outer wall. My only complaint is you can still smell them. Makes it pretty tough to eat my lunch. No, they can't get in here, but pretty soon we've got to go out there. And from the looks of things, I'd say they're ready for one hell of a fight. Now remember, this is in the aftermath of the alien Earth War. And so Jastrow says, who cares? And he's asking, he goes, why are the red and the blacks beating on each other? He goes, who cares? Back on Earth, they've been trying to kill us for months. And then we segue to, what's his name? Hendrickson. And we see his visual as he's watching the blacks and the reds tearing at each other. In Jastrow's words saying, personally, I'm enjoying the view. Just whew, good visual storytelling and just some really graphic work. Now, I remember when Grant took Jastrow's Xenozip last issue because Hendrickson knocked it out of his hand after the whole synth conversation. Grant saying, oh yeah, I forgot to give it back to him. And he starts playing, Jastrow starts playing his sax, and he goes, but judging from his behavior, and then we see an alien's head just flying, and Jastrow's like, oh shit, check it out. His head came right off. He doesn't need any. So you kind of start to gauge where everyone's mindset is in the midst of all this. Now it's time to suit up, extend the perimeter, all ready to extend the perimeter. And I just love the look of determination in Major Lee's eyes. Okay, O'Connor, drop the southern wall. Turrets start firing. And we just see the type of, just through the visual storytelling, look at how these big-ass craters, these turrets, are blowing. Without a hitch, just over the crowd and into the clear. The PHE hits or the PEH hits. Split. Alien acid. Damn it, Argento, you're going to have to try again. Now, the one thing, now, you have to have the sort of that suspension of belief in theater, movies, books. Because you'd think that Neopharm in the military went to the painful degree of creating alien-resistant suits. You would think that they would have put them on the harpoons. But in order for the story to happen and for stakes to happen, they have to kind of let that one go. So its use of causing drama and suspense here is awesome. But then when you stop and really think about it, start picking it apart, it's like, really? But we'll let it go. Now, remember, without a hitch, fire, smoke, and tormented screams fill the thin atmosphere of hell. From the safety of the lantern, Daniel Grant watches people die. People he'd talking to and eaten with and come to respect. All doomed by Neopharm's need for profit. His heart freezes as he feels his soul slip into the grasp of demons. So Daniel Grant, remember, sly little shit that we've been learning, starts to understand what's at stake here, what's really at stake, especially now that the turrets are no longer blasting. And everyone's having to scramble to get the perimeter wall back up, but certain things cause for him not to be able to do it without damaging the lander. And when the smoke is cleared, I love how Lee stands, points at Grant. This is some business here in Grant. Tell me, how do you figure the death of 5 Marines into your overhead? Now remember, this big, sly, important businessman, reduced. Please, Major, I just didn't know. And now we learned about the Reds. Bagali talks about, I see what I can make of all this, if you'll excuse me. I can only guess how it happened, but it appears the red creatures are mutations, a separate species from the more familiar black creatures. Thus, it would appear they are fighting for territorial control. You mean like ants? Precisely. So why is that good news? Well, if we could sway the battle in favor of one side, there would be a very likely result, leaving this hive relatively clear and unprotected. But that turret carries our best firepower, and it didn't do a thing. How can we sway the battle? And it's Hendrickson. Easy, Mr. Grant. We nuke them. And I just love this deadpan panel. His face semi in shadow, just the seriousness of it. So everyone's getting ready to bomb the Red Hive because it will break the mental command that the Red Queen has over her soldiers, and it'll make the blacks go in pursuit of them. Now, Grant says that he's going in the hive with everyone, and Lee says, I don't want any civilians. Save it, Major. On a practical level, you need manpower badly. And on a moral level, I need to do this. Can you understand that, Major? If I'm ever to look myself in the mirror again, I need to do this. So she tells him where there's armor. But as the book comes to a close, remember, espionage and sabotage. Who let out the Facehugger? Aliens Genocide issue 3, guys. Lots of information to push into one issue. Done very, very well with gorgeous use of art and color palette choices. It draws you in, you start reading it, and before you know it, you are done, and you're like, damn, I want the next issue. That is how you do comic book storytelling. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is like to get your action figures and comics, and grab this series. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate you taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little Xeno bell, next subscribe, that was like a tip load content. You guys get notified, come to the channel, and I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.